Yo guys, welcome to another episode of Road to VSIT. I haven't uploaded a Road to VSIT video in a while because I've decided to start doing them every 3 weeks, like my Road to Human Flag video series, just because I realized that the VSIT is actually going to take me a long time to learn. You can see that I'm kind of holding a semi-decent VSIT, but I really want to be able to get my knees right up to my face, and to get to that point is going to take me a long time. So yeah, I really need to work on my flexibility and hip flexor strength primarily, but it's going to take me a long time to do that because my muscles are just not used to that, because I've never directly worked my hip flexors or my flexibility before. So yeah, rather than just uploading a video every single week and showing you guys only like tiny little kind of incremental progress, I wanted to upload a video every 3 weeks and just isolate the highlights of each training session so that you guys could see which exercises are really working for me, and which exercises you might be able to use in your own training if you are trying to learn the VSIT, and also which ones I just kind of have been able to progress onto throughout the weeks, because yeah, I'm always progressing, always learning, and yeah, certain exercises get easier as the weeks progress, so it's just nice for you guys to be able to see that progress all in one video. So that's why I'm going to start doing them every 3 weeks instead of every week, but again, I'm going to be talking through everything that I've been doing so far and like how my kind of approach to my training has changed. Because, like I said earlier, my whole big revelation that I've had recently is that I just do not have enough hip flexor strength, and my flexibility is severely lacking, because I feel like I've got the strength to hold the skill in terms of like my tricep strength and everything else, but yeah, my hip flexors, because I've never directly worked them, they are definitely lacking. So here I'm just doing some seated pike leg lifts just to again really train those hip flexors. I've been doing these a lot recently because I had to be honest with myself, and this is one thing that you guys should take away in your training as well. Like, you really have to be honest with yourself, and you really have to be honest with where your weaknesses are. If you're a beginner, it can be hard to know where your weaknesses are because maybe you haven't made that mind muscle connection yet, and you don't really know kind of you're still trying to kind of find your bearings and work out what is your weakness and what are your strengths and all that. But if you have been doing calisthenics for a while and you kind of know your weaknesses, because if you are honest with yourself, you will be able to identify it. So if you know what your weaknesses are and the things that are holding you back, then the only thing you can do is strengthen them. So I've realized that my weakness is in my hip flexors and in my flexibility, so I've been spending a lot of time over the last few weeks just working on my hip flexors. Here I'm just doing some single-legged piked leg lifts. That's a flipping tongue twister and a half, and I'm combining them with these VSIT holds. This guy in the background, I didn't even realize that he was there until after I finished my set, but I didn't realize he did that in the background. But shouts out to him anyway. But yeah, so here I'm just working on my flexibility, really trying to get that compression, because the thing with the VSIT is that you need a lot of active flexibility. You need a lot of flexibility, but you need a lot of active flexibility, and that is my understanding of active flexibility. I don't know too much about it because, like I said, flexibility is a new frontier for me, but my understanding of it is kind of like the flexibility that you have when your muscles are engaged in a certain position, because the flexibility that you have when your muscles aren't engaged is slightly different to the flexibility that you do have when your muscles are engaged. And when your muscles are engaged, that is my understanding of active flexibility. So yeah, so for example, holding your legs in that VSIT position, that's an example of active flexibility, because you have to actively contract your muscles to hold themselves in that position, but you also have to be flexible enough to get into that position in the first place. So I'm sure I butchered that explanation of active flexibility. I probably should have researched the definition of that before I did this video, but hey, I just know that I need to work on that because my compression is getting better, and it has been getting better since I've been working on my flexibility, but yeah, it's still got some way to go. So this is week 6. This is the most recent week, and since I'd been working on my flexibility and hip flexor strength, I'd seen a lot of progress in in how far I was able to push my hips forward and how far I am able to get my legs up to my face. Obviously, as the sets progress, my legs get lower and lower, but in the first few sets, you can see that my legs did get a little bit higher this week. So the flexibility work and the hip flexor work is definitely paying off. And this training session, I actually tried quite a few new exercises that I haven't done before. One thing that I really want to work on as well is my endurance in the V-sit position, because I burn out very, very quickly. So here I'm just doing some tucked V-sit holds, really trying to push forward with my hips and lean back on my triceps, and then I'm supersetting that with a max L-sit hold, and I'm just trying to hold that for as long as possible, because like I said, I really just want to work on my endurance, especially my hip flexors, because they tire out way quicker than any other part. Like, they tire out quicker than my triceps and my core, just because I never really work them. So again, I'm just trying to train that hip flexor strength and trying to train my legs to be able to hold that position for a long period of time. So I did, I think, about 4 sets of these. So really just trying to make sure that I'm conscious, really making that mind muscle connection with my muscles, engaging my core. My mind is in my core and my hip flexors and my triceps at all time. I'm making sure to lean back on my triceps as far as possible, and yeah, just digging deep. You can see I'm struggling because it's really difficult, especially at this stage of the workout. It's a tough superset by itself, but after I've just done my max V-sit holds, it's quite difficult. So yeah, here I just did another set of these before I moved on to some hanging leg raises. Now, the hanging leg raises are a great exercise because you can target a lot of different muscles at once. They are good for targeting your back. They will help you with your front lever strength, because you're kind of pulling down on the bar and you're activating your lats in a similar kind of way that you would be if you're doing the front lever, but they're obviously also great for the core. But here I'm just trying to take my back out of it as much as possible. Obviously my back is still working to get my legs up there because I'm not super flexible, but I'm just trying to only rely on the strength of my hip flexors. And again, that's going to be impossible to only rely on your hip flexors because it's a compound movement and you're going to be using a lot of different muscle groups. But I'm really trying to make that mind muscle connection with my hip flexors and just command the strength from my hip flexors to bring my legs up to the bar, and really try not to pull down on the bar, because then that will obviously direct a lot of the muscle tension away from my hip flexors, which I don't want. So I'm just trying to really make that mind muscle connection with my hip flexors and try and do my best to compress as hard as I can and get my legs right up there. You can see it's really difficult. I could only get about 2 to 3 reps in. So here I'm working on a new stretch that I haven't done on any Road to V-sit video yet, because again, I was honest with myself and then I realized I just have so much more shoulder flexibility work that needs to be done. So here I'm just trying to stretch out the shoulders, and then I wanted to do a 2-in-1 because I was watching a Spanish V-sit tutorial, and basically the guy in the video was doing this but with both of his legs. So he was basically doing like leg raises in this position, which is just insane. You have to be so strong and flexible. So I want to be able to get to that point, but I've got to build up the strength first. So I'm just doing it with one leg here at the moment whilst also stretching out my shoulders. So I'm doing 2-in-1, strengthening the hip flexors and stretching out my shoulders. Again, this is trial and error. I don't know how well this will work, but I've been doing it for about a week now and I think I've already seen some progress with from doing it. So yeah, I think it will work quite well. And then this last clip, this is great because this is just an example of how much progress I've made over the last few weeks in terms of my flexibility. In my last Road to V-sit video, I tried this stretch for the first time and it was very difficult for me to hold and I could barely hold it. I was shaking all over the place. And in this clip, this was the first time that I was able to get my legs and my butt to the wall and hold this with quite a lot of stability and confidence. As you can see now on the screen, this was my first attempt at it. This was week 3, and now you can see that my butt's right up against the wall, my legs are straight, I just need to point my toes, but yeah, it's much easier to hold. So making a lot of progress, but there's still more progress to be made. So thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, then make sure you share it and make sure you like and comment and tell me what you guys want to see in other videos. And yes, remember to subscribe as always. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.